Hi, Standers. This is Sheila Hollinger with Marriage Revealed Ministries and another question and answer. I appreciate all of the questions you guys have been asking, and I will do my best to get to each and every one of them. Some of the questions do require me to, just really rest in the Lord, let God download the answers. Some of them I'm still waiting on. They're a lot deeper messages. So just be patient. I ask the questions just like you guys should be asking. We ask, and then it's up to God, right? It's up to Him to answer for us. He says, His word says that if we want wisdom, He will give it freely. So that's what we're doing here. We're asking for His wisdom. So the first question says, Sheila, I'm tired of being so angry. I declare forgiveness all the time. When will I feel the forgiveness that I am choosing to give? I'm exhausted. So making a decision to forgive, okay, is not the same thing as feeling forgiveness. Forgiveness is a choice. And pain is something that happens, and anger is something that comes out of that pain most often. So, when we are angry, it's usually a fruit. It's a reaction. It's a feeling that, you're angry because you've been hurt. Now, you can forgive and still be hurt. You can forgive and still be angry. So again, forgiveness is a choice. The fruit of forgiveness over time will start to work, and you will start to heal, and you will start to feel the forgiveness doing that work in you. You'll start to feel the healing doing a work. The thing with this type of situation is if it's ongoing, okay? If it's an ongoing situation, you have a spouse who is still hurting you, who is still walking in the dark, is still lost, is still hurting your kids. That means that forgiveness is ongoing. It's the 70 times 7. And the hurt is ongoing. So, this is probably not the answer you wanted to hear. But it is a process that is ongoing. It's a continual thing. And it not every day is going to have the same levels of hurt. Not every day is going to have the same levels of anger. Sometimes you will, overcome, and you will find, intense healing, intense breakthrough. Another thing that could be, sometimes we get triggered in something in us that is just needing growth. Let's say, for example, that you have an area of pride that you can't be lied to, right? If you get lied to, it sends you over the edge with hurt, anger, pride, and that could be a place that you need growth, you need understanding, you need to really dig in with God and say, Lord, I cannot handle being lied to. And that could be right there why you go around the same mountain, and those going around and around and around the same mountains are exhausting. So sometimes you have to really sit with God and say, I'm forgiving in this area, but I'm not making progress, and I need help, Lord. I need to figure out what's going on. Why am I struggling in this one place? Spend some time with God and really, analyze your heart, dig in and figure out what's going on, that this is just a place that I can't seem to have that breakthrough that I really, really want. But again, forgiving and being pain-free are two different things. When you have a situation where you have a spouse who is just continually walking in the hurt and walking in a hard heart and walking in deception and walking in a battle, Okay? One of the things I think we don't realize is hurt is part of this process. It's very much doesn't show a lack of faith. It doesn't show a lack of forgiveness. It doesn't show a lack of anything. It shows that you are human, and that, I would be more concerned if you were not hurting, because if you're not hurting for the right reasons, we can hurt very selfishly, hurt about what's being done to us to an extreme. And I'm saying this in balance, because we absolutely hurt over our loss. We hurt over what's being taken from us. We hurt over what's being done to us. But if you have no balance where you're not hurting for what's happening to your spouse, you're not walking in compassion. You're not walking in mercy, forgiveness, grace. If it's all about you, completely about you and what you've lost, and you are, overtaken with, that kind of a situation, that is a very wrapped up in self type, isolation. And we do tend to do that sometimes when we just, some of us are, more prone to be more self-centered than others. And that is a place where you've got to learn humility. You've got to learn how to die to self and start thinking of others. And I know that's a very touchy subject for some. It seems that whenever I put anything about having compassion and mercy into a video for the lost spouse, I get a lot of unlikes on my posts, on my videos. And that just shows that for some, that's just really, a hard thing for them to hear. So I'm being cheated on. I'm the one that they're hurting, and I'm supposed to find grace. I'm supposed to find mercy, compassion. I'm supposed to care about what they are going through. That kind of triggers people. It really does. I know it does because of the comments I get, of the unlikes I get on the post. But I'll tell you right now, that's exactly the character of Jesus. He goes after the lost. He hunts down the lost. He's out seeking the lost. And, if we don't understand what the lost look like, they're the people that are out there living their life for themselves. They're selfish. They're hurting people. They're committing adultery. They're being self-centered. They're being rebellious. Those are the lost. Okay? So if we have an image of Jesus hunting down someone who is broken and crying out for help, you might have a wrong image. Usually the ones that he's out looking for are not the ones looking for him. And that's the image that you need to have. You need to have an image and understanding that he's out looking for the rebellious. He's out, for the sinner, for the lost, for the broken. That's what lost it means. It's not someone who is seeking God, wanting God, asking God to help them. That's not exactly the lost image that, we need to come to understand. The lost person is someone who has turned their back on God. That's why they're lost. The person who is seeking God, that's all of us, right? All of us that are seeking God, we're not lost. We've found we're heading toward him. We're walking with him. We've invited him into our life. We're no longer lost. So there's a big difference between, lost and, working out our salvation. So declaring forgiveness is really important. I do it all the time when my heart starts to feel things that I know is not of God. When I start to feel impatient, when I start to feel angry, hurt, All those things are normal, but they can lead me into places that I know God doesn't want me to go. And that's what I mean when I say not of God, because being angry, that's an emotion he feels. That's something we can feel. If he feels it, we can feel it. We have every right to feel. We're created in his image. We have every right to feel every feeling and emotion that he feels. So if he gets angry, we're allowed to be angry. We're just not allowed to sin in our anger. So when I feel certain things and I know I'm not handling those right, I know that I need to go to God and I need to say, Lord, I need to forgive. I need to be quick to forgive before I enter down that path that takes me into sin, bitterness, resentments, vengeance, spitefulness, anything that it doesn't reflect God, okay? But I'm allowed to be hurt. I'm allowed to be angry, okay? So that's really important to understand, where you give yourself permission to feel your feelings. You just want to keep those feelings in balance. And again, if you feel certain things and you know that you're not feeling compassion, you're not feeling mercy, you're not, having any grace or understanding for your spouse, that's a really good place to start. And I'm not saying that the person that wrote this is not doing that. It's just very possible that, they're just being hurt over and over and over and over again. And that hurt is just being kept alive. And it is an exhausting process, and it can wear you out. You want to make sure that you really are taking enough time for you. If you are always, if you've got, we use the back burner concept quite a bit. And it's really a good concept to understand. When you cook, you put on the back burner anything that is okay for now, right? You put it on the back burner, you put it on low, you let it simmer. It means you don't have to pay as close attention to it. It's still there, it's still going, it's still cooking. But what you put in front of you is what you need to really put your focus on. You can't just walk away. That's the front burner. And so many times what we do is we put ourselves on the back burner, or we even turn it off. For some of you guys, you don't even have yourselves on the stove at all, which is really, no, that's not good. Okay, I've shared this before. When I would go in my room, shut my door, lay on my face, it was always me and God time first. I always had to work things out in my heart between God and I. Yes, that was about God. He's hurting me. Look, help me with this. But it was still about how I was processing things. It was not about, God, look what he did. You change him. Why, focused, that kind of thing, where I was asking God to work those things out of my spouse. No, I was saying, God, something just happened. This is what he said. And here's how I'm hearing it. Here's how I'm feeling about it. Here's how I'm being triggered. Here's me. Okay. So I would process myself, my feelings, my emotions, how I was reacting to things first. So that was putting myself on the front burner. Okay. And then after that, I would say, working those things out with God, hearing what God had to say about those things. Then I would go to the Lord and say, okay, now I feel better. We've processed that. I'm able to forgive. I'm able to start the healing. Now I can pray for my spouse. Now I can switch. I can put myself on the back burner and I can bring my spouse up and I can start praying for my spouse effectively. Because if I didn't do it that way, if I came straight with my spouse first, while I had so much inside, I would have been praying from a place of anger. I would have been praying from a place of hurt. I would have been praying from a lot of different misunderstandings. So one of the things that happens when you focus on you is God will come in and say, you are taking this completely the wrong way. You're making something out of it that wasn't intended. You're taking it personal. You're maybe blowing it out of proportion. Maybe fear has come in and completely twist and warped all of it. And now you're, completely just afraid. And that's why you're hearing this message coming out of their actions, because you're afraid. And that's not what's happening at all. So this right here is why it is so important that anytime something happens, you go to the Lord with it and you say, God, set me straight. Set my heart right about this incident. Because either I'm afraid, I'm reacting out of rejection, I'm reacting out of unworthiness. I've lost sight that not to take this personal, they're just, they're in rebellion. They're against you right now, not me. There's so many different ways we can take what they've done as a message and completely twist it and lose sight of the truth. And so again, if you take that straight to prayer and you start praying for them without first going to God about your reaction to it, you might be praying wrong. You might be praying something that God doesn't want you to pray because you got the message wrong. So I know I kind of threw in some other things on top of this question, but some of those things are why we have a hard time forgiving and why we get exhausted. So I hope that kind of answered some questions about that. You're gonna learn real fast with me that I go off topic really fast, but it's just what it is, because some of these questions are not simple. There's a lot of things that form, why we can't do something or why we're struggling. So it's not just a one size fits all question or answer to a question. Okay, so the next one, there were 2 questions, and these are about how do you not be part of the divorce? Each of us have a set of, things that the Lord wants from us. There is no rule about how you engage in the divorce. Absolutely no rule. And I would be very concerned if someone, the second part of this, the second question here is about somebody else putting up a rule that standards are not to touch the divorce. I don't make rules. I just follow the Holy Spirit, and that's what I try to instill in everyone, that there are no rules to standing other than the main rule, and that is love God with all your heart, your mind, your soul. Follow him, listen to him, and do what he's asking you to do. And then please do not take what the Holy Spirit tells you to do, turn it into a rule, and then broadcast that message that every stander out there is not allowed to touch the divorce. They're not allowed to sign. They're not allowed to do that. Please don't do that. That's dangerous ground to be going against, God himself and saying, because he told you not to do something, or to do something that now you're going to turn that into a rule. So that can bring a lot of confusion when you've got someone who's looking for answers, who's spending time with God, and they're hearing something and they're still learning, they're still new. You don't go and put out a message, and I see this a lot. I see this a lot with, and I don't know why. I honestly, I don't understand, and that's probably something that I need to get with the Lord and find out why some of us do that. And it's a common thing, actually, where you hear a message from God. God tells you, and it makes so much sense for your situation, your life, and it's crystal clear. God says, I don't want you having intimacy with your spouse, and this is why. And now a person will take that message and they will broadcast it and say, God said we are not to be intimate with our spouse. And they'll open it up as a community message. And again, I'm letting you know there are no rules for standing, because while one person will get that message, another person, God will say, yes, go ahead, be intimate. And then they'll set up, he'll give them some reasons why. And it's personal. Please be careful about taking a personal message that means so much to you, and it makes so much crystal clear sense, right? And then there's fruit, absolute fruit in the obedience to that message that even makes your stand on that even more powerful. So God gives you a message, tells you what to do, you do it, and it produces fruit. And now you think, wow, I've got the formula, and I've got to go out and I've got to tell the whole standing community, exactly how to do this to get the results that I got. No, doesn't work that way. We share our experiences. We share, this is what God told me, but the key right there is, this is what I went to God, put my question before God. God gave me an answer. I listened to him, and I reaped the benefit of being obedient. That's the message you put out there. Go to the Lord, ask him, keep asking, posture yourself in front of him until you get the answer. Lord, what do I do about this divorce? Do I engage? Do I not engage? What is the wisdom? I need your help. And then you wait on him, and you follow what you feel he is leading you to do. And I'm going to share this with you, and it's not a rule. Okay? Sometimes he doesn't answer because it doesn't matter. I got that a lot in my walk with God. And that's the conclusion that I came to. I felt like that's what he was saying to me. I'm not going to tell you go left or go right, because you're going to come to the same conclusion, the same results, one way or the other. So a lot of times standers are afraid. I don't know if I should say this. I don't know if I should do that. I don't know. I just want to be obedient, God, right? We find ourselves in that place quite a bit. I've prayed this prayer so many times. Lord, I don't care what you tell me. I just want you to tell me something. I don't care if you want me to do this or do that. I just want to do your will. That's all I care about. So, Lord, I'm waiting. Just tell me what to do. And it's funny because in those situations, I really find that I'm waiting and I'm waiting and I'm waiting. And I'm like, Lord, what do you want me to do? And it's like, I don't think he minds either way. He's leaving it up to us. There are situations where he's leaving it up to you to make the decision based off of, what you need. And it's not going to disrupt the outcome. And there's a lot of situations like that. It's not going to disrupt the outcome one way or the other. So sometimes you have to, as long as your heart is pure and you are not being led out of vengeance, malice, anger. Remember, you can be angry, just don't sin. So you have to always check your heart motives. You have to always make sure that you're not doing things out of fear. So if you need to engage in the divorce to protect, and you feel the Holy Spirit is leading you, guiding you, you know, I love to live my life with this, God, I trust you, and if I am making a mistake and my heart is open to hearing you, and I am teachable, and I'm continuing down a path where I am making a mistake and I'm going against what you need, that's not my desire. I don't want to go against you, but I'm not sure. So I trust that God's going to stop me. He's going to speak to me one way or another. He's going to speak to me. Sometimes, I'll tell you right now, the way he speaks to me is by letting me make that mistake. Because he knows me. And he says, I can tell her no. And she's going to argue with me, and she's going to figure out a way to do it anyway. Because she really wants it. Her heart really wants it. So with my daughter, Sheila, the best way to let her figure out that this isn't going to work is to let her do it. Let her make the mistake. Let her experience it. Let her learn the lesson. And then next time when she goes to do that same thing, she's going to say, nope, not going to do it. I've already been this route, and I know this isn't going to work. I know for me and God, that's one of the ways that he teaches me. He lets me do what isn't good for me, because he's a good father. And sometimes I'm not that great of a daughter in the obedience lesson. So him and I have, gone this route many times where I've asked him something and I don't get an answer, and I do what my heart's telling me to do, and then I find out, wow, I had something in my heart, didn't even know was there, that's leading me to do this. And so some of the ways that we learn are through experiences. By God letting us, and boy, I wish I could say I learned that lesson once and didn't make the mistake. But no, especially in my storm where I tried to control my husband, and I went round and round and round with these experiences until I really, really, really understood, some of the things I had in my heart that had to be worked out. So, again, if you are facing a divorce, there is no, there's no one size fits all. Okay? You have to go to the Lord, and you can definitely go to someone and ask them to pray with you. The Lord will give you answers, and does that mean he's going to give you an answer while you're in prayer time? No, not always. He might lead you to a video that speaks to your spirit and gives you direction and makes sense. And that lines up where you say, you know what? This is exactly what my heart feels and has been, leading me. And this is confirmation. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you are feeling something and you get a message and it brings confusion, and all of a sudden your spirit and your soul are in chaos and combating each other, and now you're confused, you've lost your peace, that sounds like you've got mixed messages coming. And one of those messages isn't from God. And that's usually what comes in and steals your peace and brings discord to where you will start, saying, now I don't know what to do. I thought I was doing the right thing, and now I'm very confused, and now I'm afraid. I don't want to cause, I don't want to be disobedient. So these were really good questions. Be careful that you don't set up rules for standing, and just be careful. Be careful that you are always going to the Lord and not man. So this is a really deep question here. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get to all of the message that, can answer this question, but I'm going to try. So the question, do you think the prodigal wants to wear down the spouse in order to justify themselves, or maybe get rid of any responsibility. The easy answer would be that spouses do want to make themselves feel better when they feel guilt. So if, let's just say, let me see if I can come up with an example. So you have a spouse who has come up with a decision. They've made a decision. They think that selling the house is the best option for you, for them, for the family. And you're in this, your heart, everything in you is saying no. But this is about them, and they are trying to wear you down. And so sometimes they try to wear you down because they are so racked with guilt, and they think if they could get you to agree, it's going to ease their guilt. So you've got the Holy Spirit working on them and bringing some conviction, which is a godly, good form of a little bit of conviction, a little bit of guilt. It actually should be encouraging a person to change. But then you've got condemnation, shame, guilt, which is not from God, in the form of unrepentant condemnation, and that's a whole nother message. But I know this is really a hard thing to explain, but I'm going to try my best. When you're lost and you feel overwhelmed with shame, with guilt, with condemnation, but you are adamant that you are going to do what you want to do. So let's throw in rebellious and selfishness now. You're going to come up with some reasons in your mind. Well, if my spouse would just agree to sell the house, just agree to divorce, just agree to do this, or this, that's why I'm feeling the shame, the guilt, the condemnation. They don't know what it is. They just know they're a mess. They know they're angry. They know they're just not sleeping, and they're going to blame the spouse. They're going to blame the one person they feel is standing in their way. And that's why they will go to a spouse and try to wear them down, because they have it in their mind, if I could just get them to agree. I have heard spouses who have said, I just want you to be friends with the other woman. I need you to be friends. I need you to be okay with this. I need you to be my friend. I need you to do this. And the standard's like, what the heck? I don't want to be friends. I don't want to be one big happy family. And my spouse is just trying relentlessly to get me to say, okay, I'll be friends. And it's because, like I said, they're feeling guilt. And they're believing the answer to make all that guilt go away is for you to agree with them. So they're blaming and pinning all of that on the disagreement. They believe one thing, you believe another. They believe that you hold the key to their freedom. And they haven't learned yet that their freedom is in changing their heart. Being set free of the guilt, the shame, the condemnation. The conviction is about repentance, which is a change of heart. For them to come full exposure and see what they're doing is wrong. And when they're not ready to do that, the only solution for some of them is to try to make you change. So that's one part of it. Then there's a different part, and that is a little bit more tricky and a little bit more complicated. And that is a spouse who is in an abuse situation. And I don't like to talk about abuse, but I really feel that because there's two sides to this question, that we have to go there. And that is about a spouse who wants to control. It's a completely different situation from someone who's feeling guilt, shame, and condemnation. They're not being led through guilt. They're not being led through shame. They're not being led through condemnation. They're being led through a desire and a need to control someone. And that's where you will have a spouse who is, who is an abuser. And, again, I do not like talking about this because it's such a deep topic and it requires so much insight, okay? But when you have a spouse who's trying to control and make someone do their will, again, because there is no shame, there is no guilt, there is no condemnation, abusers don't live with that type of conscience, okay? They're living in a place where they need their victims to do their will. And they will work hard to get someone to line up with what they want so they can control them. And so I just felt that had to be put in there. And it's obviously because God needs someone to hear that message. Because I don't think there's a lot of people that are really in abusive situations that don't realize that they are in abusive situations. So if your spouse is constantly trying to get you to agree, it's something that you need to consider, especially if this has always been the way from the day that you got married. Okay? Abuse doesn't just happen with a person who decides they want to end their marriage. That's usually a sign of the hard heart. Abuse starts happening very early on in the marriage. After the honeymoon's over, all of a sudden, the married person, all of a sudden starts to see things about the spouse that they didn't see before. And it can go on for years and years and years and years that you can't disagree with them. They have ways of manipulating, ways of controlling, ways of getting you to do what they want. They twist things around. And now you're in the situation where you're standing, right? Maybe they've got another person. Maybe they're in adultery and they're trying to keep both relationships going. And they're not giving you up. Okay, they're not giving you up. They're still trying to manage you. They're still trying to get you to do what they need you to do. And they're still trying to, I love you. I don't want to ever lose you. You got to be careful. This is where it can cross over into an abusive situation. And again, I'm saying this, I'm not a professional. I just have a little bit of understanding through experience of what some of this abuse can look like. Okay, I didn't want to go there with this question, but I couldn't let it go. I felt like the Holy Spirit really was telling me I needed to address this. All right, the last question. I am not trying to give up, and I don't have a defeated attitude like it's pointless to pray, but I am struggling to pray with the same passion and frequency that I used to. I'm struggling with if this is a resting time God has called me to or an attack on my prayer life. Did you ever have seasons like that? If so, what tips can you provide? Prayer comes in so many different forms. Prayer comes in just being silent, just pondering God, just understanding God. Prayer can come with just weeping, intense weeping. Prayer can come with stomping around the house, declaring all war on the enemy. Prayer can come in praise and worship, where you are just loving on God, praising Him, worshiping, thanking Him for the work He's doing in your life, in your heart, in your spouse's life. Prayer can come walking on the beach and just, God, this is so beautiful. Look at the ocean. Look at everything. Acknowledging Him, gratitude, gratefulness. Prayer comes in so many different ways when you're connecting with Him. And so it just really is about knowing the season you're in. And that season can change moment by moment. A lot of times we worry that, oh my gosh, I am not stomping around the house. I'm not kicking enemy butt. I'm going to let the enemy win. We get worried because we don't recognize how many different forms of communication. Prayer, I believe the word prayer is exchanging a wish, or something like that. I can't remember exactly the definition, the biblical word prayer, but it's exchanging your desire, in faith, going to God, saying, God, my prayer, my wish, my desire, my hope, my expectation, I'm going to exchange this. I'm going to give it to you, and I'm going to take something back. That's prayer. And it's an exchange. Okay? And some of us worry that we are not exchanging the way we need to. We're not giving it to God, and we're not getting back an answer. So a lot of times we're not going to get an answer. A lot of times we're going to get a receipt, and we don't even recognize that that's what we've gotten. So if you go to the Lord and you say, Lord, my prayer is for my spouse to love you, and that's your prayer. My prayer is for my spouse to love you with their whole heart, their whole mind, and their whole soul, just like your word says that we are to do. Okay, so are you going to get an instant, all of a sudden your spouse loves God immediately, right then and there, with their whole heart, mind, and soul? Probably not. Okay, that is a work in progress prayer. That is a work in progress all of us go through every day of our lives. It's a continual progress. Does that mean God didn't put a received your prayer because you didn't get an instant, I hear you, I acknowledge your prayer? You didn't get an instant result. Sometimes our prayers are, God, please don't let the divorce go through, and the divorce goes through. Does that mean he didn't hear your prayer? No. Does that mean he didn't, give you an answer to your prayer? No. So prayers are just something that we work through. Like I said, some days my prayers were just tears, just crying, working that pain out, exchanging it. I'm giving him my pain and my tears, and he's giving me peace. That's what prayers are. They are an exchange. Sometimes I didn't get the peace, but I did get the knowing that he was there. I got the comfort of knowing that he was there. Sometimes my prayers, I was angry. I was hurt. I was feeling just emotional. So sometimes my prayers, my exchange, were simply unloading the baggage, letting it all out, and walking away a little lighter. So prayers come in so many different ways, forms, shapes. They sound different. They look different. You can, lather, rinse, repeat over and over and over, where you just pick up the same prayers day after day. Sometimes your prayers will look so different. Sometimes your prayers will be all-out warfare. Sometimes God will wake you up in the middle of the night and you're just praising him. And other nights, it's just, going after the enemy, because the enemy's coming after your family. So I hope this answered your question. And, you don't have to pray with the same passion, the same frequency. But I will tell you that if you're not praying, if you're not communicating with God in any form, that's right there. That's something to be concerned about. When in my seasons of depression, selfishness, anger, hurt, when I clammed up and shut down and didn't want anything to do with God, those are the times that you need to be worried. Those are the times you need to be concerned, those are the times you need to say, uh-oh, I need some help. I might need to schedule a one-on-one with a coach, with a mentor, with my pastor. I might need to reach out to some prayer friends. I might need to, I might need some extra help, because I'm going down to a slippery slope that where I'm not praying at all, where I'm just, walking away from God, where my heart is hardening from something. That's where I would be concerned, where you need to reach out and get some extra help. All right, guys. I thank you for the questions. I hope I was able to answer them. Please leave questions in the comments, and I will start collecting them. God bless you guys.